Hi, I'm Roxanne Donnery, and I'm president of the school board here in Highland Falls, Fort Montgomery, New York. Right now we're standing at the gate of New York, gate of West Point, and we've called a rally together today in our community because we are literally a dying community. Our schools are not able to support themselves. When the federal government took all of our land back in the 30s, they gave us what we call impact aid. Well, today the impact aid is no longer available to us. We do not have enough taxable income to even support our schools. We feel that this is an injustice. We're not taking care of our future when we're not taking care of our children. It isn't fair that neighboring districts have new books, new computers, and our children are dealing with books that are 10 and 14 years old. And it's time that this community has united and we're standing together. We are holding all politicians accountable today, and we expect a solution. It's a moral issue, it's about children, and it's about our future. And we're not willing to stop until they find a permanent solution to replace the loss of our impact aid.
Roxanne, that was a wonderful statement, but it's not the first time I heard it. She has been a tremendous activist. There's an example here in the town of Highlands in the school district that America should take. It's like rewriting de Tocqueville's Democracy in America. Roxanne could write that Democracy in America Part 2, because what she's done is she's taken civic action all the way, from the school district to the town, to the county, to the state, to the federal government. Even, believe it or not, met with Bill Clinton. She's resourceful enough when she saw him eating in a restaurant recently in Washington that she went up to talk to him, and that act, along with others, because it's an accumulation of things, managed to get the attention at the top of the two senators representing New York, Moynihan and D'Amato, and a check recently came in for $267,000. That check was money that was owed before. The issue is, while the check is nice and the check will keep the lights on for a little bit longer, it is not the answer. The answer is for the government to keep the promise it made when it took 60% of the land away from the school district and another 30% away from the town of Highlands, so that literally over 90% of the land of this community is now made part of West Point and the federal government, and the exchange for that was impact aid, and that amount was approximately $1.5 million. I think it's supposed to be about $1.9 million now, and they've reduced that to about 10%. And recently, incredibly, the representative from the area decided not even to vote for that. So we have a situation where this school district was almost made bankrupt, is still literally on the way to bankruptcy. The money that came in because of Roxanne Donnery's hard work and this community is just a Band-Aid. The real solution is, one, do we need all the land in West Point? Can some of it be returned here now many years later so that the town and the school district can do some economic development? Two, the issue of impact aid. There's no question that the promise was made. The promise must be kept. It's American. It's democratic. Number three, we want to know whether West Point has on its line item budget building new facilities for schools on the point when they exist right here in the school district. Right now, the district, the high school, educates about 150 students from West Point. 180 students. There's some rumor or some thought that those students may be going to school on the point. That would then bankrupt this district for sure. So there are a number of things that have to be put on the table. Thomas Jefferson said, information's the currency of democracy. That's what this is all about. Just informing the public, informing the press, informing the elected officials so that the right thing is done. And when it comes to our kids, what better thing can be done than keeping your promises and making the right thing happen, keeping this school district solvent. So I congratulate Roxanne and all the people here for what they've done, and I think you'll see a major statement being made about how people feel in this district today.
To start, we have our leader of this drive, this effort, the firebrand of the town of Highlands, Roxanne Donnery, school board.
Hi, thanks for coming. This is what it's all about. This is what I've been writing to you about. It's about unity and really standing up for something that we believe in. Remember, the thing that's giving our direction to us is the whole issue of our kids. These are the books we're using in the school. These are 10, 12 years old. We have other books that are 15 years old, 16 years old. All we're asking for is the opportunity for our children to have the same things that the neighboring districts have. We shouldn't have to have computers that are being disposed of on West Point in our computer labs and in our classrooms. I don't believe when we're asking for our children and when the passion that we have for this community is about our future, the children in this community, I don't think anyone can do anything but listen to us. You know, in fact, Mrs. Koziak, she pinned on me before I came up here a little slingshot. And I've said it to you over and over again. To me, this symbolizes David and Goliath. The difference is David only had one Goliath. We have several. We're dealing with a bureaucracy that's bigger than I could have ever imagined. We have a very large neighbor over here to my right that's also very big. We're dealing with the Department of Education. We're dealing with Albany. My God, how much more do they want us to deal with? It's just a little community and a little school system. I think this time right now is extremely important. In the next couple weeks, we will be adopting a budget. Right now, there's a zero on that line that used to say impact aid. I'm saying to you, unless we hear from Washington, it must stay a zero. That means 25% increase in tax to you. I'm saying to them, forget about the impact aid. I am so sick of even hearing about it. I wish they would change the name. 10% is all they're giving us. 10% has bankrupted us. I want for us special legislation, a private bill written for Highland Falls. Why? Because of our uniqueness. Show me another district in the nation that has lost as much land to the military as we have. Show me another district that has ceded land within its property. Show me another district that has a 1.9 entitlement that's being paid 10%, and that 1.9 is 20% of our budget. Show me another district. There isn't another one. We're unique. They need to be treating us as if we are. It's a moral issue. And you know what? We're doing fine. It's about our kids. We want the best. We don't want this anymore. We're not going to stop the fight until we're heard. Thank you.
That's one hell of a leader, huh? I had the privilege of sitting on the Joint Commission that looked at the solutions, and I can tell you one thing. After every single meeting, Roxanne would come in and said, you didn't go far enough, you didn't work hard enough, you didn't work long enough. Come back and do it again. So I think we've got someone that's the catalyst for a solution, and that's what this is all about. Today we've got representatives of all government, from all levels, from Washington to Albany, and they're here for one reason: you. You let them know you were concerned, you let them know that you needed help, and they've responded. And the only way to keep that help, and the only way to make sure that they all work for you, is that we all stay united, that we keep our focus on one thing. That's a school that through the history has provided graduates that have gone on some of the finest schools in this country, from West Point to Harvard to Amherst, into local schools and gone back to the community to work, and others have gone to other cities across this land. Why? They were educated here, they had the preparation to go on and make something of themselves. And we cannot afford to let that be taken away from this community. It's a special asset, it's a special resource, and there is no other reason that a community should come together that is more important than the kids. The kids represent the future, and that's what this is all about. As the representatives of the various government bodies, the people who work for us come up here to speak, I'd I'd ask you all to welcome them all, let them know you stand with them, and let them know that we will not give up on this until it's over. The senior ranking political representative here from Washington, D.C., our Congresswoman Sue Kelly, please.
This one?
The big one.
Keep it close.
Oh, okay, can everybody hear me? Welcome. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to see so many of you here. I want to tell you, I'm the mother of 4 kids. And every morning, as the mother of 4 kids, I'd stuff some oatmeal in them, put them down at the bottom of the driveway, and make sure that they got on the school bus. When you wake up in the morning and you look at your kids and you wonder about putting them on a school bus, and you're stuffing the oatmeal into them and saying, so long, you want to have computers, you want to have new school books, you want to have your school open, and you want to be able to know that this is going to happen year after year after year. So that families who have lived in this community for generation after generation can continue to do that and educate their children here. Now, there are a lot of different solutions, a lot of different ideas that people have, but I want you to know, my office is open, my phone numbers are available, you can get to me as an individual, because I'm walking up and down the streets all over here all the time. You may not recognize me, but I hope now that you've seen me standing up here, you will recognize me. Because I have the ability to walk into a store and buy things, and people, unless I say, hi, I'm Sue Kelly, people have no idea who I am, and that's fine with me. I don't expect people to know me. But you all need me, and I want to be there for you. So when you see me now walking up and down the streets, stop me, talk to me. Let me know how it's going. Because we've got to work together. This is not a partisan kind of a problem. This is not a Democrat problem. This is not a Republican problem. This is a kids problem. This is a community problem. This is a problem that needs all of us working together as a community, just like you've done today. I think you should cheer Roxanne. I think you should cheer this committee. They've done a wonderful job of bringing you all out, and you are terrific to stand here. Thank you very much, and good. Let's go together and get this job done permanently.
Very good. Now, one of the first things we can do, and I'm reminded of this, when I went to buy my house in Villa Parkway, I saw Charlie Wyatt, and I was taking out a mortgage. And when I had to make my monthly payments, I guess if I had called it aid, I could have decided not to make those payments. It seems to me that what we are holding is a mortgage. We have a mortgage. We are holding it. The people who bought the land are the federal government. That's fine. We support it. This community has walked arm in arm with the federal government since the time this nation first gave the idea that it would be a nation. But you know what? Just like you can't walk away from the mortgage, neither can they. So let's stop this idea that it's aid. Let's say that what we want is our mortgage payments. Next, we have a gentleman who served in Congress, who is a Republican candidate for Congress this year, Joe DioGuardi.
Thank you, Paul. You know, this is a great day for America. Are you proud to be American? Yeah! That's what this is all about. Are you proud of Roxanne Donnery and the activists in this community? That's what this is all about. I've heard a lot of people talk about injustice. And not to repeat the quote that was made before, but I'll give you one by Martin Luther King that applies here today, too. If there is injustice anywhere, then justice is threatened everywhere. And that's what you're standing for today. Not just for this school district. You're making a statement in this local community that should be heard around the country, certainly in Washington. I've seen the comments made today by the officials, certainly from your elected official in Washington. But you know, one of the issues that you have here today is that there was a disconnect between you and your representatives in Washington. I wouldn't be here today if I wasn't asked months ago to get involved in this issue and to open up a few more doors for Roxanne Donnery while she was in Washington. And that's one of the reasons why we're beginning to get a solution. Isn't competition good? That's the way America works. When there's a challenge, when there's a competition, all of a sudden, your elected officials become more accountable. How nice. Everything wasn't this lovey-dovey a few months ago. I can assure you. As a matter of fact, your representative in Washington voted against impact aid months ago. And now she's made the quantum leap and sees the light, sees the solution, the permanent solution. That's a lot easier said than done, my friends. But I applaud the Congresswoman for making that quantum leap, and today is a day for unity. And that's why I'm here, because we have to work together for this solution. That's what this is all about. How does this community work together from the bottom to the top? You know, something wonderful happened in the 19th century. The year was about 1840. A Frenchman came here. His name was Alexis de Tocqueville. He came here because he heard about this great experiment called the United States of America. It was still a very young democracy. It's still very young today. Still evolving, growing, solidifying itself. And he came here and he went to the neighborhoods. And he saw what made America great. It wasn't the parties. It wasn't the government. It was the people. It was the community groups in their neighborhoods making things happen. He then wrote a book in 1846, Democracy in America. Well, Roxanne Donnery and your activists are writing another book, Democracy in America Part 2, because that's what this is all about. It's civic action. It's the people on Main Street talking to the people on Wall Street and Capitol Hill. The real power is not on Capitol Hill, it's right here. But that power has to be felt. Your voices have to be heard. And you need people to connect you to that power. Certainly you need local activists like Roxanne and the others that I've met. But you also need a representative that's going to proactively work for that final solution. What's the real issue here today? I'm a CPA, I'm an accountant, so let me talk like an accountant, because we're talking about money, we're talking about numbers. I wrote a book after leaving Congress, believe it or not, as the only accountant practicing CPA ever elected in 220 years. Imagine a place with 276 lawyers and no accountant. That's Congress. Everybody's talking about numbers, everybody's spending, but no one's counting. So I wrote a book. You can clap, come on. Where's that bell that Sue Kelly's friend had? Ring that bell a few times for me. That's it. Okay. Now, that book is entitled Unaccountable Congress, It Doesn't Add Up. Well, there's a new book I'm going to write, Roxanne. I'm going to write it for you. Impact Aid, It Doesn't Add Up.
That's right.
And it won't add up. These numbers will never add up here. I can talk about a lot of issues, but the core of our complaint is a broken promise. Why would a town give up 92% of its land and make a deal years ago in consideration of support? Impact aid, which should total this year $1,900,000. No one has to write my speeches for the numbers, by the way. Let me go through the numbers for you so you understand it. The school budget here is about $10 million. Let me round it off. 9.9, 10 million. You have 1,000 students. All they want is their 20%, about 1.9 million. What did we just get? What's that check that just came late after we brought our elected officials kicking and screaming back to this neighborhood with some money so the school wouldn't close down? Less than 3%. You need 20%. You don't need 3%. 3% doesn't add up. It's a formula for disaster because your taxes will have to be increased. People will move out. Property values go down. The ones that remain have to pay more taxes. They leave too, and pretty soon you've got New York City. It's bankrupt. Who's going to bail you out? So we need to get back to the 20% number, Roxanne. Now, I just heard the Assemblywoman talk about how we're going to get New York State to deal with the sales tax issue. You don't need New York State to deal with this issue. You need the federal government to do the right thing. That's a federal establishment up there. That's not New York State. All you need to do is to go to the Department of Defense and say, wait a minute, fellas, you're downsizing, you're taking better control of establishments, you're trying to relate to the community, you're encouraging private-public partnerships even on these closed bases. Wait a minute. Even before you get to that, do you realize there are military establishments like this one that are not collecting sales taxes? The law was never meant to do that. That law was meant to give maybe a little special consideration to military personnel who shop at a PX. Not to put a pizzeria up there that doesn't collect sales taxes competing to one out here. That's wrong. That's unjust. That's not fair. It's got to change. And you don't need New York State to do that. You need the federal government, and I might add, you need a representative that understands that to go down, and that can be fixed like this. Because the current law doesn't permit it. It's just got to be enforced properly. And finally, the real solution. I've been on West Point. What are they doing with all that property? I don't see the need for all that property on West Point. Do you, Roxanne? Were you listening? She's always moving. Okay, plan, that's good. So we need to understand what land is needed for that establishment. I heard someone say they're downsizing. God bless them. Let's downsize. Everybody else is doing it. That's why there are jobs lost in this district. That's why the number one issue in this overall district is jobs. Private sector, downsizing. Well, we know that military base closures and other things are causing federal establishments to downsize. That's good, but as they're downsizing, why don't they consider whether they need that land they took? And if they don't, you can rebuild your tax base. There's beautiful property. This is a great place to live. And people would come here and buy homes. And that's what we have to look at, the real solution. Let the government help you help yourself. You don't need aid. You want your property back. You want to help yourself. This is not a welfare state. So with that, I then want to leave you with this thought, that you don't really need much else for what I've seen than the people sitting here, especially Roxanne. You know, you've seen that picture, Rocky 1, Rocky 2, Rocky 3, Rocky 4. You got your Rocky here. You know, she's smart enough, like most boxers, not to try to take out a big, strong boxer in the first round, because if you miss, you'll get tired, you'll get taken out. You know what she does? Body blows, body blows, body blows. She gets you in the stomach. She goes down to Washington. She kicks in the doors, and by the 10th round, you know what? Somewhere along the line, you're going to drop your arms and your hands, and she's going to nail you. And that's what she just did. She is good at it. And you got to encourage her, you got to support her, and we got to keep this kind of activism up because it's American, and what you do here serves America. God bless you.
I think Joe's telling us he wants us to foreclose and take our property back. Thanks, Joe. And we have Sue, we got Joe, and now we're going to have Dr. Klein, the Democratic candidate for Congress.
Thank you, Paul. I'm proud to be an American today, and I'm proud to be here at this nonpartisan rally. Okay. I'm a doctor down in Yorktown Heights, Democratic nominee. I'm also the father of 6 children, and I know the value of an education. I think education should be one of the primary responsibilities of our government, and it's really upsetting that they don't want to pay their fair share. But I can tell you, if they have enough money to loan billions of dollars to Russia, they ought to have enough money to pay back the people of Highland Falls. And I'll keep it kind of short, and I ought to talk to you like a doctor. You ought to have, what we don't need is a Band-Aid in lieu of taxes. What we do need is a permanent cure. And I promise you, when I get to Washington, I'm going to give you that permanent cure. We're going to do away with this aid in lieu of taxes, and we're going to get you something on a permanent basis from the general fund. So I thank you for your time today, and God bless.
This is nonpartisan. This is Thomas Jefferson formed a party years ago when he said the federal government got a little elite. And they stopped representing the people, and so he and James Madison said, we need a new party. Well, this is the People's Party that's gathered here, and we don't care what party you vote under. We want to make sure that you vote for one thing, that the Eugene O'Neill High School remains open and grows, and every kid in this community knows it'll be there no matter what age they are today when they get there tomorrow. So that's the purpose of this rally. I want all the kids in the audience, come on up here, every one of you, get up here. These are the people we're standing for. You come here, and by God, we need you up here. Come on, all the kids. I don't care how old you are. Come on, get up here.
Here they are. Come on, guys. Let's go.
These are our citizens. These are the ones we're working for. Come on. All of you, come on up here. This is your school. This is your future. Come on up. Come on up. Especially you with that Eugene O'Neill jacket on. Let's get on up here. James I. O'Neill. Come on up here. Please, come on up here. Come on, kids. Come on up. Come on, keep going. James I know. James I. O'Neill High School, this is your future, and this is your present. Let's all give him a hand now. I apologize for saying Eugene O'Neill. That's a function of having tutored my daughter this morning on her literature. I got it in the brain. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank you all for coming. These kids need your help. They need you to vote. They need you to write letters. They need you to keep your eye on the ball, which is we need the money to keep the school open. We're not asking for aid. We're not asking for a handout. We're only asking for our school, for our kids to remain open in exchange for the land we gave for the country. And that's not too much to ask. I'm Paul Buca, and I was asked to come MC this rally. When I came back from Vietnam in 1969, I bought a home here in the town of Highlands, and it's always been my home, an Army brat, and this is the place I owned my first home. I've always come back. I'm a West Point graduate, and I consider the community wonderful, and West Point and this community have always operated together to have a wonderful school, and they're going to do it again and still do it in the future. However, we got to get the federal government, and we got to get our state government to help this community continue to have the finest school in the Mid-Hudson area, and that's what it's had in the past, and that's what it's going to have again. That's the purpose of this. Bring the people together for a positive reason, which is to accomplish a goal, solve the problem once and for all, not on an annual basis or on a part-time basis. That's what it was, and you saw the people, and I think that's what we accomplished. Thank you.